All right, so looks like we're tackling some pretty big names today. Descartes and Plato.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you've sent over lecture notes, quizzes, even a guide on philosophical writing.
Uh-huh.
Clearly you're not messing around. We're diving deep into the nature of reality, the limits of knowledge.
Right.
And you even want to know how to argue for the soul's immortality.
Mm-hmm.
Buckle up, because things are about to get seriously philosophical.
Well, what's really fascinating, I think, is how relevant these thinkers still are today.
Oh yeah.
You know, we're bombarded with so much information in the modern world.
Yeah.
And figuring out what's true, what's worth believing, well, it's more important than ever.
Yeah.
That's where Descartes comes in.
Yeah, Descartes was all about finding that foundation of absolute certainty.
Mm-hmm.
But why was that so important to him?
He lived in a time of just massive upheaval where old certainties were crumbling, scientific discoveries challenging traditional views.
Right.
Religious wars were raging across Europe. It was a time of intense skepticism and doubt.
Oh, wow.
Imagine feeling like the ground beneath you is constantly shifting.
Yeah.
Descartes wanted to find something solid, something unshakable amidst all that chaos.
Yeah, so instead of just accepting what he was told,
Right.
he decided to question everything, even his own senses.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of like a mental detox, stripping away all the assumptions and biases.
Exactly. He called it radical doubt.
Oh, wow.
And it was a key part of his method. You know, he systematically doubted everything he thought he knew, looking for any belief that could withstand the most rigorous scrutiny. It's like he was trying to build his knowledge from the ground up.
Right.
Brick by solid brick.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's where his famous Cogito argument comes in. I think, therefore I am. But how does thinking preview exist?
Right.
I mean, couldn't our thoughts themselves be illusions?
That's a great question, and it gets to the heart of Descartes' genius.
Okay.
He realized that even if a powerful deceiver, like an evil demon, was manipulating his thoughts and perceptions,
right,
the very act of doubting or being deceived proved his existence as a thinking being.
Okay.
You know, think about it. To be tricked,
right,
you have to exist in the first place.
Okay, I see what you mean. So even if everything I experience is a lie,
right,
the fact that I'm experiencing something means there has to be an I to do the experiencing.
Precisely. It's like saying, even if I'm wrong about everything, I have to exist to be wrong.
Okay.
It's a mind-blowing realization that shifted the focus to individual consciousness as a primary source of truth.
Yeah.
Your own thinking, your own experience becomes the foundation of knowledge.
Okay, that's pretty empowering,
right,
when you think about it.
Yeah.
The power of the individual mind to question,
yes,
to doubt, to arrive at its own truths.
Absolutely. And that emphasis on individual reason and critical thinking, it had a profound impact on the development of modern philosophy and science.
Okay, so we've established that we exist thanks to Descartes. But what happens after this life?
Right.
That's where Plato enters the scene with some seriously intriguing ideas.
Plato believed that the soul is immortal.
Okay.
That it exists independently of the body and continues to exist after death. He explores this idea extensively in his dialogue, Phaedo,
right,
which focuses on Socrates' final days and his arguments for the soul's immortality.
Wait, Socrates was Plato's teacher, right?
Yes.
And he was sentenced to death for corrupting the youth of Athens with his ideas.
Yes.
Talk about dedication to philosophy.
It's a powerful and poignant story.
Yeah.
In Phaedo, Socrates uses his impending death as an opportunity to engage in deep philosophical discussions with his friends about the nature of the soul and the afterlife.
So Socrates is basically saying, hey, I'm about to die. Let's talk about immortality.
Right.
Pretty intense last words.
Yeah.
What kind of arguments did he offer?
One of Plato's most famous arguments, often called the argument from affinity, suggests that the soul is more akin to the realm of forms, these perfect, eternal, and unchanging concepts, than to the physical world, which is constantly changing and decaying.
Forms. Okay, I'm going to need a bit more on that.
Yeah.
What are these forms, and how do they relate to the soul?
Imagine the concept of beauty It's not something you can touch or see directly.
Right.
But you recognize it when you see a beautiful flower, a stunning sunset, or a work of art.
Yeah.
For Plato, these forms like beauty, justice, and truth exist in a separate realm.
Okay.
A world of pure ideas that are more real and enduring than the physical world we perceive with our senses.
So it's like saying there's a blueprint for beauty,
right?
And everything we find beautiful in this world is just a reflection of that blueprint.
Exactly. And for Plato, the soul is more closely aligned with this world of forms. It's immaterial, invisible, and capable of grasping these eternal concepts.
Right.
The body, on the other hand, is part of the physical world. It's subject to decay and death.
So the soul's like the software.
Right.
And the body's like the hardware.
That's a great analogy.
Right.
And just like software can exist independently of the hardware it runs on,
right.
Plato argues that the soul can exist independently of the body. In fact, he suggests that the soul is actually imprisoned by the body.
Wow.
And that death is a kind of liberation for the soul.
Right.
Freeing it to return to the world of forms.
Okay, that's a pretty radical concept, the idea that death is actually a release for the soul.
Right.
But if the soul's the eternal, where did it come from in the first place? And what does Plato say happens to it after we die?
Plato believed in reincarnation, the idea that the soul is reborn into a new body after death.
Okay.
He even suggested that our souls have a kind of pre-life knowledge.
Right.
That we're actually remembering things our souls learned in a previous existence.
So like déjà vu is actually a glimpse into a past life.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see why Plato's ideas have captivated people for centuries. It's like he's tapping into some deep-seated human longing for something beyond the here and now.
Absolutely. And he offers another compelling argument, often called the argument from recollection.
Okay.
To support this idea of pre-existing knowledge.
All right, let's hear it. How does Plato connect recollection to the soul's immortality?
Think about when you learn something new. Let's say you're learning geometry.
Yep. Yeah.
You're presented with a theorem, and suddenly it's like a light bulb goes off in your mind.
Right.
You understand it not as something completely new, but as something you already knew deep down.
Like it was always there, just waiting to be rediscovered.
Exactly. For Plato, this experience of aha moments of suddenly grasping a concept suggests that our souls had prior knowledge acquired before we were born into this physical world.
Okay.
It's like our souls are remembering something they learned in the realm of forms.
So basically school is just soul boot camp. Yeah. We're all just trying to remember what we already know.
You could say that.
Okay.
But of course Plato wasn't just interested in theorizing about the soul.
Right.
He also wanted to provide a rigorous logical defense of his beliefs.
And that's where things get really interesting for me. Because you've sent over a ton of material on the art of philosophical argumentation.
Yes.
It's like you want to be armed and ready to defend these ideas in any debate.
It's not just about winning arguments, though. It's about developing critical thinking skills.
Yeah.
Being able to analyze different perspectives and construct compelling arguments of your own.
Yeah.
These skills are valuable in any field, not just philosophy.
Yeah, I can see that. Whether you're writing a persuasive essay, negotiating a business deal, or even just having a thoughtful conversation. The ability to think clearly and articulate your ideas effectively is essential.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the key takeaways from this material on philosophical argumentation?
One of the first things that stood out to me is the importance of defining your terms clearly.
Okay.
Philosophers are obsessed with precision in language, and for good reason. If you're not on the same page about what words mean, you're going to end up talking past each other.
It's like trying to build a house without a blueprint.
Right.
You need a shared understanding of the foundation.
Yeah.
Before you can start constructing anything anything meaningful.
Exactly. And then there's the importance of anticipating objections.
Right.
A strong argument it doesn't just present its own case.
Yeah.
It also considers the opposing viewpoint.
Okay.
And addresses potential counter arguments. It's like playing chess.
Right.
You have to anticipate your opponent's moves and be prepared to defend your position.
So it's not just about being right.
Right.
It's about being able to defend your position against any attack.
Right.
It sounds like you need a thick skin to be a philosopher.
Resilience is definitely important,
Yeah.
but it's not about being aggressive or trying to shut down opposing views.
Right.
It's about engaging in a respectful and reasoned dialogue,
Right.
acknowledging the strengths and weaknesses of different perspectives.
Okay, so we've got define your terms and anticipate objections.
Right.
What other philosophical jujitsu moves can we learn?
One technique that stood out to me is called steel manning.
Okay.
It's the opposite of straw manning, where you distort your opponent's argument to make it easier to attack.
Right.
With steel manning, you actually try to present the strongest possible version of your opponent's argument, even if you disagree with it.
That sounds counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Why would you want to make your opponent's argument stronger?
Because it shows that you're engaging with their ideas in good faith, that you're genuinely trying to understand their perspective.
Okay.
It also forces you to think more deeply about your own position and why you hold it.
It's like saying, okay, I see your point,
Right.
but here's why I still disagree.
Exactly.
It's a more respectful and productive way to engage in debate.
Yes.
Even when there's strong disagreement.
Exactly. And it can actually lead to a more nuanced and insightful discussion.
Right.
By understanding the strongest possible version of the opposing view.
Yeah.
You might even find that your own position evolves or becomes more refined.
Okay, I'm starting to see how these philosophical tools can be applied to all sorts of situations.
Right.
But let's get back to Plato.
Yeah.
We've talked about the soul being like the tuning of an instrument and
Right.
and the idea of recollection.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't he have another argument for the soul's immortality?
He did. It's often called the argument from opposites.
Okay.
And it builds on the idea that many things in the world come in pairs: hot and cold, light and dark,
Right.
sleeping and waking.
It's like the yin and yang of existence.
Yeah.
Everything has its opposite.
Yeah.
But how does that prove the soul is immortal?
Plato observed that life and death also seem to be opposites.
Okay.
And just as sleeping is followed by waking,
Right.
and waking by sleeping,
Yeah.
he argued that death must be followed by life,
Okay.
and life by death in a continuous cycle.
So it's like the philosophical version of a boomerang.
Right.
The soul keeps coming back even after death.
That's one way to think about it.
Yeah.
And this cyclical view of life and death resonated with many ancient cultures who saw death not as an end, but as a transition to another realm.
Right.
Or a rebirth into a new life.
Okay, so I'm starting to see how Plato's arguments connect to some really big questions about the nature of reality.
Yeah.
And the meaning of life. It's like he's not just talking about philosophy.
Right.
He's talking about what it means to be human.
That's a great observation. Plato's ideas have resonated throughout history because they grapple with these fundamental human concerns.
Right.
Our place in the cosmos, the nature of our existence, and the possibility of something beyond this earthly life.
And speaking of earthly life,
Yeah.
didn't Plato see the body as a kind of prison for the soul?
Right.
Like it's holding us back from true knowledge and enlightenment.
Yes, that's a key part of his philosophy. Remember, Plato believed that the soul is drawn to the world of forms.
Right.
Those perfect eternal concepts like beauty, justice, and truth. But the body with its senses and desires distracts us from this higher realm. It's like we're trying to see the stars through a fogged up window.
So the goal is to kind of purify the soul.
Yes.
To free it from the distractions of the physical world.
Right.
So it can access true knowledge.
Precisely. And for Plato, philosophy is the path to this purification.
Yeah.
It's about training the mind to see beyond the illusions of the senses,
Yeah.
and to grasp the eternal truths that lie behind them.
Right.
It's like a mental workout for the soul.
Okay, I'm getting the sense that Plato wasn't much of a party animal. Was he all about denying yourself pleasures and living like a monk?
Well, it's not about denying yourself all pleasure.
Okay.
It's more about recognizing that some pleasures are more fulfilling and lasting than others.
Okay.
Think of it like this. Indulging in a delicious meal might bring temporary satisfaction.
Right.
But it doesn't compare to the deep and enduring joy of understanding a complex philosophical concept.
It's like comparing a sugar rush
Yeah.
to the satisfaction of solving a challenging puzzle.
Right.
One is fleeting, the other expands your mind and leaves you feeling truly enriched.
Exactly. And for Plato, the pursuit of knowledge and wisdom is the ultimate form of happiness.
Right.
It's about aligning yourself with something bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
With those eternal truths that transcend the limitations of our physical existence.
That's a pretty inspiring vision.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, it's also a bit daunting. I mean most of us aren't going to spend our days contemplating the forms. We have jobs, families,
Yeah.
bills to pay. How do Plato's ideas apply to everyday life?
That's a great question, and it gets to the heart of why philosophy matters. It's not just about abstract theories. It's about cultivating a way of thinking, a way of being in the world that leads to a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
So how do we do that? How do we bring a bit of Plato into our daily routines?
One way is to cultivate a sense of curiosity and wonder.
Okay.
Look at the world with fresh eyes.
Right.
Question your assumptions.
Yeah.
And seek out new knowledge and experiences. It's like Plato is urging us to never stop learning,
Right.
to never stop questioning,
Yeah.
to never lose that childlike sense of awe.
So instead of just going through the motions,
Right.
we should be actively engaged with the world around us,
Mm-hmm.
constantly seeking new insights and perspectives.
Exactly. And another way to apply Plato's ideas is to prioritize
Yeah.
those things that are truly valuable and enduring.
Oh, okay.
Instead of chasing fleeting pleasures or material possessions, focus on building meaningful relationships.
Yeah.
Pursuing your passions,
Right.
and contributing to something larger than yourself.
It's like saying that true happiness comes from living a life of purpose and virtue, not from accumulating wealth or status.
Precisely. And remember, Plato believed that justice and virtue are not just individual qualities. They're also essential for a healthy society.
Yeah.
So by striving to be better individuals, we're also contributing to a better world.
That's a powerful message.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of something you said earlier about the importance of critical thinking and reasoned dialogue.
Yes.
It's like those skills are essential not just for philosophical debates,
Right.
but for building a more just and equitable society.
Absolutely. And I think that's a fitting note to end on.
Yeah.
We've explored some deep and challenging ideas today.
We have.
But ultimately, I think Plato's message is one of hope and empowerment.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we have the capacity for reason, for knowledge,
Yeah.
for virtue,
Yeah.
and that by cultivating these qualities, we can create a more meaningful and fulfilling life
Right.
for ourselves and for others.
So we started this deep dive with Descartes, questioning everything, and now we're ending with Plato urging us to live lives of purpose and virtue.
Yeah.
It's been quite a journey.
It has.
Yeah.
And the journey doesn't end here. There's a whole world of philosophical ideas out there.
Oh, yeah.
Waiting to be explored and debated.
Well, until our next deep dive.
Yes.
Keep those minds sharp and those soul searching. And remember, sometimes the most profound questions don't have easy answers.
Right.
But the pursuit of those answers can lead to a richer and more meaningful life.